We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. It's our final segment this morning. Harriet Brooks is with us, landscape architect, and she's involved in the biggest redevelopment project in Nashville's history, that of the East Bank. And moving forward, give me an idea for folks, as we've talked about all the features and showed you images of what it's going to look like. What's the timetable for this to start taking hold? And I know it's going to be years, but when will we have something that you can look at and say, well, there it is?
That's an excellent question. So we laugh in the office that we'll be retired before it is built out. But so we're already starting implementation. I mean, we are... Right.
What's the first step? Because I know that with Oracle coming in and over there on Cowan and all of that, there's activity happening there.
Right.
So what's really the first thing that'll get us on the road to this?
So really the first decision that needs to be made is what's going to happen with the stadium.
Right.
So that's the big elephant in the room.
Let's talk about that. I was going to do that last segment. So we don't know, right? How important is that? Because what will that dictate for you?
So the reason that the stadium is the real kind of catalyst is because it affects the road network. And so depending on if Nissan Stadium stays where it is or if it moves, affects the East Bank Boulevard, which is our spine road that goes through the East Bank, and its alignment is dependent on the stadium. So then after that, kind of all the pieces start to fall into place.
It's the biggest centerpiece of it all.
So,
in a way, I wonder, the development that'll go up around it, in a smaller example, right behind the TV station here, you probably saw, there's where the Sounds play, and there's the stadium there. And you notice the development that's happened around it. Before that stadium went in, we had some warehouses, but I mean, it's completely changed next to the Bicentennial Mall and the stadium. And there's a ton of restaurants. There's a Jonathan's back there. There's a ton of condos, some new restaurants going all the way back to Germantown. Is that kind of, I mean, some of that I saw there reminded me of some of what you see built up around the Sound Stadium. I mean, literally, there's dwellings right across the street. Is that kind of what we'd see around the stadium?
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll probably be on a little bit of a larger scale than what's around there.
And more park ground and territory like that. I mean, we have the Bicentennial Mall, but you saw a lot of green space with your drawings here.
Right, but the idea is that the stadium will be situated within a kind of neighborhood that has buildings around it, that has things you can walk to and get to, and condos, hotels that you can stay in and that sort of thing that are all right there. So it's not going to be the kind of model for stadiums, especially that was done kind of in the 90s and the early thousands, where it was just like a stadium and then a whole bunch of parking or something like that. I mean, this is really supposed to be integrated.
In your perfect world as a architect, a landscape architect, a stadium's not what you want in the middle of something like this. It's a reality, and it has to be. But when you think about it, a stadium is active for a handful of football games every year and a few concerts, and that's it. And when you look at a lot of other cities, like you said, stadiums, it's a dead zone. A lot of the areas around stadiums in this country are not the kind of place you want to hang out.
Right.
They're run down. Now, not so much here because it's so close. What you're suggesting is all this built up around it, but that stadium most of the time is going to just be sitting there vacant.
Right.
Doing nothing. Just
Our
taking up space.
responsibility is to design for the other 350 days of the year.
Right.
What is this going to be like on an, average Monday or Tuesday for people who live around, and is it going to be active and inviting and, a welcoming place for people to kind of live and take their dogs on a walk?
Well, and I know you've got to be asking. I know it's not your decision to make, but what's the scuttlebutt? Okay, I know. If you had your druthers, you'd rather have the stadium move someplace else. Because then you could really use that land and do some really cool stuff. But we know it's pretty much going to stay in that general area.
Yeah.
But is there any scuttlebutt on whether or not you're hearing that it might stay where it is and it'll be refurbished, or that they'll build a new one, and if they do, that would mean building next to it and tearing this one down?
So that decision is definitely above my pay grade.
And you have no scuttlebutt or no idea what?
I do not know. You probably know about as much as I do. But so in the plan, we were very careful because of that to completely work out both options. So we have a road network, with the stadium staying and with the stadium moving. We have, park network with both options. So we took the vision and basically designed everything around the stadium, not knowing what that answer will be. So the moment that a decision is made, we'll be able to start moving forward. And in the meantime, we're starting to kind of lay the groundwork on things such as design guidelines, or collaborating with our resiliency engineers, with transportation engineers on things that we can start kind of building up in the background in preparation for that decision.
And as you say, it looks like the starting point might be coming down from Oracle and the Jefferson Street, moving this way toward the stadium. And so with the design guidelines, again, as a landscape architect, for you, do you have images of trees? Hopefully, I mean, how do you get big trees? I mean, hopefully you leave any of the big trees there alone. I hate it when developers cut trees down. It's stupid. It's just stupid. Big trees are great. Cutting them down is dumb. Okay, it's livability. Don't cut down any big trees.
I agree.
Okay, and then sidewalks.
Yes.
What else?
Sidewalks,
Bike
trees,
trails.
Bike connectivity, and then just kind of working with the scale of the place. So you want active streets. You want places where people want to walk into. You want a mix of uses. So and then we also need to focus on what do you need for every day. So schools, libraries.
Okay, so I mean, we're talking, there'll be schools, there'll be neighborhoods, so there'll have to be schools down there. There'll be
Anything
children.
you need for a livable neighborhood. Pharmacies, dry cleaners, grocery store, fresh food's a huge thing. So all of those things really, really play into this.
Yeah, and the timetable, again, like you said, it's interesting that we'll be retired when this comes.
For it to be built out, but
I know, but
there are projects that are already kind of moving. So that
underway.
The truck stop site, they went through a rezoning process, and then have kind of been waiting on us to figure out the road network and that kind of thing.
Because that's dictated by the stadium. But yeah, that truck stop's going to be something new there.
Oh yes, it's going to be a new mixed-use, very.
It's a great location.
I think they have 2 or 3 30-story towers. It's
planned
going to
for that.
Yeah, so there will be a lot of I think support development for Oracle, things that will support that going in. There's also a lot of work going on right now in River North, so it's going to start moving soon.
Will there be, and I don't know, the project's already moved forward, any more opportunity for public comment or discussion? Is it pretty much there, or input from folks about, what else they'd like to see, or is that time already passed? I know that has gone on.
So for the vision document, it is approved. So,
okay, so it's there to go.
So that is good to go. There will be subsequent kind of projects that happen as a result of it. So the design of the East Bank Boulevard, the urban design overlay, all of those, they'll probably have kind of a smaller scale than this vision eventually vision was in terms of public engagement and feedback, but there will be opportunities all along the way for folks to engage, especially when we start getting into park planning and design. We're going to want to do a really robust engagement about what programs people want to see in the parks. Do you want 30 pickleball courts or a dog park? Or,
exactly, a dog park or a skateboard
kind of
park,
thing.
and what kind of artwork goes in. And by the way, we just have less than a minute, but the overall investment from the city as it moves forward, so much of it is going to be, even with the city land where it's leased out, it's not that, I mean, is this going to cost the city a lot to do this, and the taxpayer, the way it sets up? What do you think?
So I think there's a real opportunity here for everyone to benefit from this.
But I mean,
there's
a lot of this is going to be driven by private enterprise that chooses to put up or lease property from Metro and all this. It's not like a bunch of Metro money going to just specifically Metro project, which is another thing that makes it neat. It's just the natural growth of this city. And when it's completed, it's going to be spectacular, and you're on the ground floor. And it is nice to have you on this one.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. We'll look at it, and
fun.
we're both retired. We'll come back and talk about what it looks like. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break. I'll be back with a programming note about tomorrow. right after this. Stay with us.